Hey everyone, good to see you again. If you're new here, welcome. We've got a lot of cool and educational videos here on the channel that I think will be highly beneficial to you on your musical journey. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and join the community here of like-minded musical creatives. Today we're going to be discussing the world of parallel compression with a special focus on drums. We'll be exploring the what, how, the why, and when to use this crucial technique aimed at helping you elevate your drum mixes to the next level. So if you're eager to add fullness, depth, and that professional touch to your drum sound, then you've clicked on the right video. Let's get into it. Here is my drum bus parallel. This is a part of my mixing template that gets used on every single song I mix. Doesn't matter the style or genre, and the settings never change from this. In fact, you can see that I have the threshold all the way down. The way that I am manipulating how this compressor works is by the amount of signal that I'm sending to it. So the internet and many YouTube videos will define parallel compression as a dynamic range compression technique used in sound recording and mixing. Parallel compression is a form of upward compression and is achieved by mixing an uncompressed or dry or lightly compressed signal with a heavily compressed version of the same signal. That's what it says on Wikipedia right here. Except parallel compression doesn't have to be heavily compressed. This is one of those things that gets regurgitated to the point of a false narrative within the mixing community. Now, sometimes you may want to have a heavily compressed signal to blend in, but that choice is not what makes up this technique of parallel compression. Most of the parallel compression that I do never gets more than 4 dBs worth of compression. I'll let you listen to an example of that. Here you can see all of the sends are in pre-fader that I'm sending to the drum bus, and we'll see where that's hitting. Now, I like to do this in a true parallel fashion, and that's why my sends are in pre-fader mode. So no matter what I do down here with the faders and the overall drum mix of that, it's not going to be affected by what's being sent to my drum bus compressor. So now let's do a little A and B with and without this drum bus parallel compression. So as you can see, what this is doing is adding a nice little boost of energy. I have these pre-calibrated. If you're familiar with my mixing template system, you know that I like to pre-calibrate my parallels. So I know exactly how much volume, how much gain is going back to my overall mix, my mix bus, my stereo out. And so I have this set to only add back in 1 dBs. So you're not really being manipulated by added volume, because it's being controlled and it's 1 dB. But you can clearly hear the difference in the energy and how it's going to better connect with everything else, because it kind of almost spreads it out as well. And we'll get to that in a little bit on knowing why we use parallel compression. What is our end goal? Because, we don't need to just do things because we saw someone else do them or because someone said so. We have to understand what our end goal is and then learn the techniques that we can choose from that's going to get us as close as we can to that end goal, to that image that we have in our head, that sound that we have in our head. But experimenting is a good thing, especially in audio engineering. It's how we learn things. But we also need to condition our ear to know when things might fall short from what our overall goal is. And to better understand how we know what that goal is by educating ourselves on the why we would use the technique of parallel compression. The reason for using parallel compression is to help engineer a desired sound. In this case, drums. Some examples of the things that we might want to engineer are to one, emphasize the need for balance between dynamic range and impact in a drum sound. Number two, help enhance the natural recorded sound of the drums, which I'm doing here because this is a live take. This was actually recorded in a spare bedroom where someone stuck their minimal drum kit into a walk-in closet. That's how this was recorded. It sounds pretty good with, very inexpensive mics. I like to use this as an example to show exactly what you can do with like 4 mics in your bedroom closet. Yeah. Number 3, we are adding what I like to refer to as an anchor to the drums by adding a weighted element through parallel compression. That's where that energy is coming from. It's going to help ground it. It's going to help focus those drums properly in our stereo image. And number 4, we're creating texture to the drums so that it better connects to the rest of the mix. An example that I like to use to help visualize this is how you would sand a wall or a piece of furniture before painting it. This allows the paint to stick better and look polished and professional. And that's what we're getting with parallel compression and the rest of our mix. And number 5, of course, you can always use parallel compression if you have a certain effect sound that you're aiming for. Add in your heavy compression. Add in some parallel tape saturation because you're getting compression with that tape saturation. You can get a lot of different desired sounds by using heavy compression. The point is that parallel compression shouldn't just be stuck with heavy compression because most of the time, I'm not even using it that way. And I don't want you to feel like that is the only way that you are able to use parallel compression. And all of these are great reasons why we would choose this parallel compression technique to produce a powerful sounding mix. Okay, so now you're asking, well, when do we use parallel compression? For me, that's going to be in the mixing phase. I like to use parallel compression by sending the signal in pre-fader mode to the compression track. However, there are uses of this during live performances, but that's going to be mainly for effects purposes. When you go to a live show, you aren't just hearing the natural sound of the drums. They are heavily blended with sampled effects, especially if it is in an arena or a stadium show. Think about how impactful that drum kit sounds when you're at a show like that. So let's go over some practical applications here. Now, I've already showed you how I use this. I'll also go ahead and let you listen to the other parallel that I have standard on my template, and that's my drum crush. I'm using the UAD Fatso for that one. So for that one, I've got that set up on just the main drums. So no overheads, no room mics, just your kick, snare, and toms. So I've got those set up here in pre-fader mode as well. And this is going to give me a little bit more of that heavily compressed sound, but it's not something that I use every time. This is not a parallel that gets used every time like the drum bus will. So let's take a listen to see what that sounds like with and without. It just sounds so good, especially on this song. These both work really well together. What I'm hearing, and hopefully you are too, is that we've got the added weight, we've got the center point now, but we've also made it to where it's spread out a little bit more, right? So now it's going to sound really good in a stereo image with the rest of our instruments. And so I just think that sometimes doing a couple of different styles of parallel compression really work nicely together. And again, I'm only adding in 1 dB of each of these. If this is a technique that you might want to, learn a little bit more about, I've got a lot of walkthrough videos that talk about my template. You can check out that if you are a Pro Tools user, Luna user, Studio One, or Logic Pro. I've got my template adapted to work for all of those, and they're pre-calibrated for you. I've also got videos that show you how you can calibrate that yourself. So if that's something that you're interested in so that you can know how much you're adding back in, but still getting the full benefits of the parallel compression technique and how it makes your mixes, especially your drums, sound so much better. And it helps prepare them connect to the rest of your mix at a professional level. So in wrapping up, we've really uncovered how this technique can metamorphose your drum mixes into sonic masterpieces, whether that's enhancing the natural sound of the drums, anchoring the stereo image, or helping the drums connect sonically to the rest of the mix. Parallel compression stands as a potent ally in your mixing arsenal. But our journey doesn't have to end here. If you're hungry for more, eager to explore deeper into the realms of audio production, I invite you to join our Patreon community, Sonic Philosophy, where you'll find a treasure trove of in-depth discussion on topics like this one, alongside a vibrant community of like-minded individuals. It's more than just education. It's a musical journey shared among us enthusiasts. So, as we part for now, remember, experimentation is your greatest ally. Dive into the possibilities, craft your signature sound, and never cease exploring. Thanks for checking out this video. Don't forget to leave your questions and comments down below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more insights just like this one. All right, y'all, we'll talk soon.